What are we waiting for?
We scoping the place out, man. We ain't gonna just run up in there. That's how you get shot.
Say that again. You wow. Ooh. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely
You don't know
not.
nothing about no war.
Everybody knows war. Yeah. What it is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Good God, you all.
It ain't you all, it's y'all.
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 Man, you sound like a karate movie. Y'all.
Y'all.
Say it from right here with some soul. Y'all.
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 Let me show your goofy ass how to do this. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Come on.
It ain't nothing but a heartbreak.
We can't hear you. You have to redo the whole thing. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you at all. Can you hear me? Wow. You give me that epic download of Rush Hour, and now we can't hear you. How'd this happen? That was a really great intro, though. Yes, thank you for downloading it. But now everybody's muted and we can't hear anybody. Except for me. You guys are stuck with me. Can we hear Mark?
Hey, how's it going?
We can hear Mark. We can hear
What's
David.
up?
We can't hear King Rush. Are you serious right now? How's that possible?
Wow. Oh boy. He ran with that epic intro and all of a sudden it just booted everything out for him.
I know.
Modern technology, what can you say?
I know. Can you believe it? Can we hear Scott or no? Yes?
You
no?
guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can hear him.
Okay.
It's okay. Okay, so Craig's gonna come back in. All right. Well, you guys can all hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
we can.
Well,
Yeah,
that was a great intro, actually. That was a brand new download. So that was awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Rush Hour. I have to show off. Look what I have made. This new water bottle. Look at that. Isn't that cool? You guys have pod merch over there? Or
Yes,
you do?
we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so there's
so
actually a
I
story
know.
behind it.
Yeah, I want to get into the story first. All right, so I know before we start grilling Scott for all this good stories that he's got for us. So, Mark, David, I know that you guys just hit your 100th episode, right?
No,
we're going
into our
seventh.
we're at our 72nd.
72nd? Okay. I remember when you guys first started because you DM'd me and you were like, "Hey, can you retweet this maybe and get some people to watch?" So to watch you guys grow from where you were to where you are now is awesome. And as content creators, I know that we can all vouch that it is not easy to come on here every week and come up with content. It is really hard. So congratulations. I have appreciated seeing you guys grow from your first DM to me to where you are now on my show, which is awesome. So why don't you tell us, how did you guys get started? Because I started podcasting out of COVID, which is the worst time to do it. And there was no sports.
Well, sorry, we decided to do this right at the beginning of the lockout last year. So it was also a great time for a baseball podcast. Put it all together then. But yeah, no, we all there's two other members of our podcast and actually a third one who's our producer, but we all kind of met up along the way. Different, we all live. Most of us live in different areas of Florida, And we kind of got together through a bunch of the group chats and kind of all kind of clicked and said, hey, this is not a bad idea. We have a good rapport. Let's put it together, a podcast. And it took us a little bit to get together, get it moving. And then once we got going with it, we kind of, we really settled in. We kind of took off with it. And, luckily people actually listen to us, which we never thought was really never thought in the beginning. You never know what's going to happen. So.
Right. It's funny when people actually listen and watch. You're like, oh, thanks. I got a couple fans.
Exactly.
It's fine that when people come at you, you're like, oh, I guess I really made it now. Right. Like, do you guys get any hate or no? Just me?
No, it's surprisingly we
You don't get
haven't.
any haters?
And no, it's the craziest thing,
Okay.
right? Because
Just-
when you do this, I mean, this started off as a hobby for the four of us. We had no idea how much of a success this would actually become. And, so I was kind of like the late arrival to the group. I grew up in New England. I grew up in Rhode Island, in Red Sox territory, nonetheless, which was a lot of fun up until 2004 happened. And then it wasn't so much fun after that. So I was telling them, I'm like, hey, you guys have been living in Florida for a while. I bring a perspective from growing up behind enemy lines, if you will. And so I was the last addition to the group. But within the first 2 weeks, the craziest thing was we were being listened to in the United States, Canada, Germany, and France. And we were like, what? How did this happen? Now, fast forward, a year and a half, almost a year and 2 months later, and we're in 19 countries around the US to the Caribbean to we pretty much have almost the entire continent of South America. And as far east as Israel and most recently Thailand was the last addition to our analytics list. So
wow,
that's kind of how it happened.
Guys. Okay, King Rush, can we hear you now? Wow, no, this is horrible. You can hear us, but we can't hear you. Well, that's unfortunate. I know you want to talk Yankees. Well, Danny's coming on later to talk Mets, so we'll have to get some predictions from him. No, but I really do want to congratulate you guys. Like I said, I've watched you grow, so it has been really, really cool, and I appreciate your support of my show and the Rush crew here. And hopefully I'll get on your show one time. But let's introduce the professional in here. I know Craig used to play wide receiver, but we have an actual MLB. A little bit you played. So you got to get your mic working so that you can come back at me a little bit. That's the beauty of the show. Yes. All right, hold on. Let me try to get Scott Sanders' bio in. All right. It's kind of long. Bear with me, but let me intro him in. All right. First round pick by the San Diego Padres in 1990. So I think I was like 6.
Great. Thanks. That
right?
makes it really good.
Yeah. You're like, okay, great. That's a nice intro. Made his major league debut on August 6, 1993 against the Colorado Rockies. Played in the major leagues from 1993 to 1999 with the Padres, Mariners, Tigers, and Cubs. Also played for Nippon Ham Fighters of the Japanese League in 2001. I'm still getting through the resume. Quite an impressive resume. One of your best highlights was starting game 1 of the wild card playoff round in 1996 against the St. Louis Cardinals. And your son Cam is climbing the ranks with the Cubs organization and is in major league camp with the Cubs this spring and was in the AAA last season with the Iowa Cubs. Did I get all that right?
You nailed it.
Well, welcome to Rush Hour after all that.
Thank y'all for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. Where are you joining us from? I
I'm
hear an
home.
accent.
What's that?
I hear an accent.
Yeah, down in Louisiana. I'm from Thibodaux, Louisiana, which is down on the bayou, right where they have crawfish and alligators and all that good stuff. But I now live in Baton Rouge. I live in Denham Springs, which is just north of Baton Rouge, and I work in Baton Rouge. So I'm basically right in the heart of the Tiger Country, LSU.
Okay, so yeah, we have to ask since we're a New York-based show. Do you know Eli Manning?
I do. Met him a ton of times because the Manning camp is in Thibodaux every summer. So pretty much every summer I hang out with Eli, Archie, Peyton, Cooper every summer.
Do you have a favorite Manning? Because
all the Mannings. Every summer they come to Thibodaux and they host a camp, and there's believe it or not, there's like 1,200 kids that come. It's a humongous 3-day camp, And every night after the camp gets over, one of my buddies at one of their houses, they have a party, and all the boys come over. They cook for them and have a couple soda pops and tell war stories.
Soda pop. That's funny.
Yeah, well, it's not soda pop, but you know what I mean.
Oh, but do you have a favorite Manning?
Cooper.
Coop. Oh, ooh,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cooper's by far my favorite. I do like. I like Archie second best.
Really?
Oh yeah,
All right.
Cooper's
So
the
you
best.
think you could pull some strings for us? Maybe we can get a Manning on here?
That might be hard. But
It's like,
Cooper,
Nick,
believe it or
you're
not, Cooper,
pushing it
Cooper
right
might be the best. But if you guys come down to Thibodeau next summer, I could definitely. You guys can hang out and rub elbows with us.
All right, Craig, you hear that? We're going down there. We're yeah. Say when we'll come.
Poor Craig, he's just got thumbs up. Poor thing. I feel bad.
I know.
As soon as I got on, I think I kicked him off.
Oh, that's all right. No, just kidding.
Did you hear him
We
before I
love
got
King
on?
Rush here. Now he pays for everything too, so that's why we have to tell him, hey, we're flying down. We're gonna go to the Manning camp. David, who's your favorite Manning? I know the answer to this question. Or who's your least favorite Manning?
I know the
Oh
answer
my
to that one
God.
too.
Nikki, you're gonna do me like this? Really?
Yeah, I had to. Sorry.
I do not have a favorite Manning. I grew up a Patriots fan, and Eli was the creator of a lot of havoc in my life in 2007 and 2011. So, about that. My dad, on the other hand, is a Giants fan, but growing up as a kid, all my friends were Patriots fans, and it just kind of stuck, and I fell in love with Drew Bledsoe the minute I saw him play. So, and of course, that carried over into, Tom Brady, being what he became, and so yeah, I'm a diehard Patriots fan. So not
Diehard
really a fan of
Patriots
Giants.
No, I would think not. And what were you guys gonna name your show?
So Mark keeps pitching this suggestion to Alex and and I hope Alex is watching this. So Mark keeps saying, because Alex is a huge Giants fan, hands down, and he's like, "Yo, you and Alex should create a football podcast, like spin off of our baseball show." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know football like I know baseball. Like I could tell you things in baseball like an encyclopedia, but football, I just see guy throw ball and run with ball, and that's about as far as it goes for me, And so Mark was like, "Yo, you and Alex should do a football podcast and call it 18 and 1." I'm like, "No, we are not doing this. It's just not."
Smart.
we're not
I
doing it.
DM'd him back and said he meant 18 and choke, right? Because that's what it should have been. Mark,
Cute.
are you a
I'll give you
Giants
that.
fan?
It's cute.
No, I'm not a Giants fan. I actually, my dad is a Jet fan.
Oh.
I actually became a Bears fan when I was, say, like 8-9 years old. My grandparents lived out in the suburbs of Chicago where the Bears have camp. And when I was 9 years old, repping a Yankee jacket, it was a little cold out. I met Coach Mike Ditka and got an autograph and a picture with him. So that's how I got it stuck from there.
All right. Okay. So we got Bears, Patriots. Scott, I'm going to assume Saints since you're down in Louisiana.
Saints.
Saints.
Oh,
the
he's
Saints.
back.
The Saints. Yeah. Oh, good.
The
Yeah, the
Aints.
Saints. The Saints are definitely my team. I went through a lot of bad years growing up with actually Archie Manning as a kid, but Drew Brees saved us, and now we're back on the. We're going back. The train's going backwards, but I guess we'll figure it out. But no, I'm definitely diehard Saints.
All right. Before I move on to baseball, let's talk about the quarterbacks of each one of your teams. I won't hammer you too much with football. All right, Scott, what do you think about the Saints? What are they doing at quarterback? Like married to Andy Dalton here.
I think they're going to draft Hendon Hooker in the first round and keep Dalton for maybe a year, pay him about $12 million. But they are talking about giving the guy from the Raiders $35 million, which I hope they don't do.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Yeah, Derek Carr. Yeah, they're talking about.
I like Derek Carr.
I do too, but we're not close to winning. So giving him 2 years, $70 million is not going to help.
Yeah.
He's not going to win us the Super Bowl. Might as well start fresh and see if we can hit something in the draft.
Well, I apologize because I have a new laptop, I have a new microphone, and I don't really know what happened. So I had to go literally ready. Look at this old school microphone. So I apologize to you guys. I was, and I don't mean to get sidetracked. I just wanted to say one was to David. I was really excited about the shots. I hope you can send us some of those selfies because my man was getting it done. He was flexing out. It was awesome.
Gotta sign
secondly,
him.
love the name of the show, gentlemen. Love the name of the show. Bronx Muchachos is super cool.
It was Mark's idea.
No, I love it. Just so you guys know, old school Yankee fan, right? I'm older than Scott and me are probably close. Scott and I are probably close, believe it or not. So I've seen Scott pitch, but and we can talk some baseball. I want to let you guys know that as soon as Girardi got fired, it took the love of the new stadium and getting fired one game from the World Series took everything out of me, okay, from a Yankee standpoint, okay? I'll give you an idea. Aaron Boone hits the home run, right? The Aaron effing Boone home run. I was in the stadium.
Great night.
Okay. This is my Yankee story that you guys you want to talk Yankees, I will come on your show and I will talk Yankees.
All right.
My wife was 8 months pregnant. Okay. I sat in the last row behind home plate against the cement wall. Okay. And here's the key. Seat 1 doesn't have a seat. I stood up. My ticket was seat 1. My wife was 2. Seat 2 had a seat. Seat 1 did not have a seat. And I leaned against the concrete wall, against that big comeback, right? Giambi, Bernie, right? All the guys. And I had been rubbing my wife's belly for good luck. Okay. And I'm rubbing her belly for like a half hour. My hand's starting to fall off, right? And then I stopped rubbing her hand. I stopped rubbing her belly, you know. She's like, oh, you're making my stomach warm. She's like, stop, right? I see this guy 2 rows down. He's like, hey, buddy. And I'm looking around. Me? He's like, you. I'm like, what's up? He goes, my name's Oscar. I go, hey, Oscar, what's up? I'm Craig. He goes, nice to meet you, Craig. He goes, do me a favor, buddy. Keep rubbing the belly. So I turn around. I rub the big Buddha belly. Boone hits the home run. I'm taking 100% credit for it.
That's right.
Hey, but the question is, were you rubbing the belly every game since after that?
No.
That's why we lost that World Series.
I know, but I was afraid at 8.5 months if I kept rubbing it, that my daughter was coming early.
But
you know, so
that's the price you got to pay to get us another chip, man. That's what happened.
Well, I mean, I'm only one guy. But I want to say, thank you guys for coming on. You know, I brought Nikki over a couple months ago. I gave her own show because of how great of a sports fan, how knowledgeable she is. She's always bringing on really excellent talent and shows. So I appreciate the time. Scott, watched you pitch. Best season, 1996, 9-5 with a 3.38 ERA was your best season. Great season. I'm sure you probably played with Trevor Hoffman, right?
That's right.
Probably a ton of good stories there.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the only thing I am so glad you're here. The only thing I gotta say is that when I sent out the link to the show, Nikki,
yeah,
did you happen to see what his email is?
I did. I said something to him. I was like, really? Like that?
I was like, listen, I could never, like Nikki alluded to, I played a little wide receiver, a little free safety in college. I could never imagine what it must be like to play in the pros on any level in any sport. I couldn't imagine what it would be to play, you know, pro anything. But my man has a Sandman email, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Oh boy.
Scott, we can't do that.
Oh boy.
In fact, when I got the information to send it, I think the message back was, "What, really?" Like,
Yeah. So just to let you guys know, I was called the Sandman way before Mario Rivera was ever even close to being in the league.
Yeah, but they didn't have email back then.
Yes, I've been having that email since 1993.
we know it's
It's an AOL.
It's AOL.
AOL.
That's it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome. Listen, I'm only having fun with you, man. It was so cool. When I saw it, I was like, you know, it hit me right away. I was like,
yeah,
you know, I bet Scott's had this email address for 40 years. I'm like, oh, it was just funny. And then the Yankee guys, of course, you know, David and Mark are coming on, and I'm like, I didn't want to throw you under the bus, but I was like, I mean, we're gonna have to let him slide, guys. We're gonna have to let him slide.
That's right.
We'll let him slide.
Should we? That's
Yeah,
up to
Yeah, I gotta let him slide.
Muchachos
Thank you guys for coming on, talking a little baseball. Nikki, I'm gonna turn it back over to you guys because I know you want to talk about quarterbacks a little bit with these guys, and you know, knowing the fact that these guys are Yankee fans and they're not Giants fans, like I'm I'm distraught over the whole thing.
Me
Honestly.
too. Me too. We have a Patriots fan in
Well,
here.
you can't blame me. My dad wasn't born in this
Real,
country, so
dude.
he had the whole thing whacked out of proportion.
No, technically, Mark, regardless of where the gentleman was born, the most universal Major League Baseball team in the world is the Yankees. It doesn't matter if you go to China or Mexico or Australia.
Nope.
Everyone is repping the Yankees. It's the largest brand in the world. So I can't give you a pass there. You should have, you should have flipped over when you had a chance. Come on.
That's like my cousins on my mom's side of the family keep saying to me, "Oh, when are you going to convert and be a Red Sox fan?" I'm like, "I'd be on fire. I'm never root for the Red Sox. It's just not happening."
No, I'd rather lose my arm in a shark attack.
Nah, I mean, all right. Would you rather lose your arm in a shark attack or be a Red Sox fan? Really, Craig? You lose your arm in a? Would you cut your hair?
I don't. I got.
No.
My brother lives up in Massachusetts.
Oh, there it is.
My brother
There it
lives in
is.
Massachusetts. And my nephews are Red Sox fans. I look at them and go, "Can't talk to you guys right now." And then,
Right, so
they're like 11 and 9 years old. I go,
Yeah. I feel
there's certain
you.
times. There's certain times I gotta go. You know what? You guys go away for a little while.
No, I feel you because my sister and her husband and my nephew and nieces, they're Eagles fans, right? So I was like, I'm not going to your house for the Super Bowl.
No.
Like, I can't do that. So I feel you, Mark. It gets a little crazy.
Well, I will say Scott's got a great approach to his team. With they're a couple years away, so rolling out all that money for Derek Carr is a lot of money if you're not ready to win. And so that's a pretty smart approach. I'm surprised, that Peyton's out in Denver. I didn't really see that happening either. Were you shocked by that, Scott?
Yeah, I really thought he was going to San Diego. He has a second home in San Diego. He also has a house in Dallas. I thought Dallas, well, a year ago I said he'd be in Dallas, but obviously they did pretty well. And Jerry Jones doesn't want to give up control of the GM role, and Peyton wants full control. So I knew that wasn't going to work. And then I heard some rumors about Denver. I heard rumors about him coming back to New Orleans, and then and then obviously, I guess they would. Russell Wilson was trying to get the coach in Seattle fired, Pete Carroll, and to try to get Sean Payton last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
they love Pete. They love Pete up there, though.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And so that's why they ended up shipping Russell out to Denver, and it just worked out. So I guess he's all excited. But I think Sean Payton's already took his took Russell Wilson's office in the stadium away from, I heard.
Yeah, that the franchise hasn't had a QB in a while, so they're going to need some structure to get Denver going again. How about you guys now? What's your plan of attack for your QBs under center? Because if you say the wrong thing, Nicky's going to be all over you.
You go first, Dave.
I mean, I don't think Mac Jones is the problem. The problem is you had a defensive-minded coach and Matt Patricia calling offensive plays. Like, when has that ever in the history of football ever worked out?
Yeah.
So now they got Bill O'Brien back in the fold. Hopefully that can start to change things. Because let's be honest, like when Tom Brady played for Bill Belichick, they catered the offense to what he was capable of doing. And until they cater the offense to what Mac Jones is capable of doing, nothing's going to work. It is not Mac Jones's fault. And I really, really hate how people are like, trade him. I'm like, no, he's been here for 2 years. 2 years. How long did it take Daniel Jones to get good? How many Giants fans were ready to ship Daniel Jones out of here after 2 years?
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
today's society has very little patience. They don't understand that guys need to grow and be groomed and grow into a system. And people expect, listen, when you look over any sport, especially football, it's, 17-game season, college football doesn't groom quarterbacks. They want you to be college ready. They definitely polish you up. But when you get to the NFL, they're not grooming you anymore. Right. So when these guys step in, they want them to be as pro ready as possible, but they're not, right? They need time to develop, and certain players take longer than other players. I mean, and if someone's been there for 2 years, like Mac Jones is, you really haven't seen what he could do yet, because especially when you have a defensive coach calling the plays. So today's Twitter world and this world we lived in wants everything now. They want to win the Super Bowl now. They don't understand football and baseball too, but football to a higher degree is run on economics, all right? With the way it's structured right now. So,
and even to even follow up on this too, like Mac Jones' problem too, he has nobody to throw the ball to. Tom Brady had all the receivers in the world.
We know that well, right, Nikki? We know that well.
We know that. Well, we solved that problem a little bit yesterday. So
get this guy some people to throw it to, and Patriots fans need to realize, like, I was prepared for Tom Brady to leave. I knew it was going to be dark times when our Lord and Savior decided to move on somewhere else and go win it somewhere else because of all the chirping in the background. No, you can't do it without Bill. Well, guess what? He did. And, Patriots fans just need to come back down to earth. Like, it's going to be rough for a while. We're probably going to be back in the Pete Carroll days where we were 5-11 and, 9 and whatever. And just give it time. Let it marinate a little bit. That's all.
How about you, Mark? How about you?
The Bears have been in that realm of give it time for quite some time. But Justin Fields, I think he's got a shot. I mean, he's kind of what looks like most of what the modern day quarterback is going to be. He can throw the ball, he can run the ball, he can do it all from that position. He just like Dave was saying with Mac Jones, Bears don't have any offense. I mean, they try to get a couple pieces, and they got the number 1 pick. So I keep hearing that they're looking to trade that pick down, get more assets, which probably for them is the right idea. Probably build up the offensive line a little bit, get him a real number 1 wide receiver, maybe another tight end or something like that. Just get a few pieces so that he can throw the ball too. So that's where I kind of see it as. I mean, Bears are in the black and blue division. I mean, they're not going to be until Aaron Rodgers leaves. They're not going to beat Green Bay. That goes without saying. Detroit's Detroit, and then you got Minnesota. So I mean, the rest of everyone is always a step behind Green Bay in that division until Aaron Rodgers leaves. So I think right now, quarterback wise, I think they have something for the future. I'm just waiting to see what pieces they can put together and hopefully trade. On draft day they make the deal, or right before the draft day they make the deal. They get a decent haul for that number 1 pick where they can just kind of stockpile and kind of build up a war chest where they can get young, inexpensive guys and let them all grow and see what they get from there.
I love the optimism. I don't see Fields being the guy, but I love the optimism. Let's shift into some baseball, right?
Yeah, real quick though.
Go ahead, Scott.
The Bears are in a conundrum. The guy they were planning on trading down to, it was the guy that got in trouble with the speeding and racing where they had the wreck down there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the defensive end.
Yeah. That's what they were trading down 2 or 3 spots to take, and now so the Bears have got to be. They probably have no clue what they're going to do now. Obviously, they got to trade out of the number 1 spot because they're not going to. I mean, but that's going to be very interesting.
Oh yeah, unless they're packaging Fields up to go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, they might. That's what I'm saying. They may do that now.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, let's call it what it is. If Fields is going to be successful in Chicago, they need to change the offense to fit his style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%.
Where Harbaugh, like right out of the gate, was like, I got a guy that can throw, I got a guy that can run. He's dynamic as it comes, but I need to change the offense. And Chicago hasn't figured out how to do that quite yet. And listen, and I'm not a Lamar fan as a quarterback, but the guy's a great athlete. He can win games because they built the offense around him. Nikki and I have talked about it plenty of times. Like, Daniel Jones has a lot of the same qualities, but if you don't give the guy to throw to, and if you don't have an offensive line, the number 1 thing, we've interviewed plenty of offensive linemen here, guys, and every lineman we've ever interviewed said the same thing. If you have a mobile quarterback, you never know where he is.
Right.
So if you do not create an offense that's made and tailored to the quarterback, the offensive line, and we've interviewed some good ones, especially of course, we're a Giants show, right? So, I've interviewed Kevin Booth, David Deal, who you see all over the NFL Network, and Richie Soyber, and a bunch of these guys, and they all say the same thing. If you have a mobile quarterback, you never know where he is. You're taking sacks because you don't know where he is. So the offense of brass, for your team needs to figure out how to actually create the offense around a mobile quarterback because the linemen are struggling to know where he is and when he's running.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, Nikki, let's shift into some baseball.
Let's
Okay.
shift into baseball.
Look,
but first,
I'm
do you
actually
see-
look at me. I'm drinking a New York Yankees beer, David. Mark, look at this.
I
Yeah,
wish we could
I
get
love
that
it.
in Florida, man.
I like
I
Blue
wish we
Point.
could
Blue
get it
Point's a
in
good
Florida.
That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good brewery. I like that brewery.
special for you guys, Yankees.
It is special.
Yankees
Hey,
fans.
I've got Danny in the background. We want to pump him in too, right?
Yeah, let's go. You
All
want
right,
to
let's
talk
make this.
Mets?
Let's bring in, of
go.
course, the newest member of the NY Giants Rush family is Danny, and he brings a lot to the table. And I'm sure he's a Mets fan,
He's
if
a
I'm
Mets
not
fan.
mistaken.
He said he
So
wanted to come in,
He's going to try to torture us too.
talk Mets. So see, this is what Rush Hour turns into. Eventually, by the 7:30 mark, it's Nikki and friends, which is great. But Craig, do you see that the beautiful Italian girls are up at 1:30 in the morning just to see you? Do you see this comment?
I do not. Where is this?
It is Chuto's comment. The beautiful
Oh.
ladies woke up just to
Yeah.
tune in to see you and your
Well,
hair.
we listen. We've talked
That's some
about
dedication right
we-
there.
We've
They are
talked about
dedicated.
Tuto before, and we need proof. Is
We
what we
need
need.
proof.
We need some proof. Now, will I do this for you and your lady
And
friends?
when the Italian
Hey,
ladies
you got the Joey Gallo hair look going.
got it,
Hey,
I
right?
know.
Right. So yeah. So I can do this for you, Tuto, and all the girls there. But me and Nikki are starting to think there's a little catfish here,
Maybe
and we need some proof on these nice
a
Italian ladies.
little bit, yeah.
Yes.
And the Italian boys that you say want me to shake my hair. Where are these beautiful Italian boys? Like,
Yeah,
where
we're
are
gonna
they?
need some. We're gonna start need some proof. You know,
We need-
I've been doing this podcast for 3 years. I've done it for the USA Today. We've done the Giants guys, and I've never had a more anomaly than we have with Tuto because he is a great guest and he says things that are so inquisitive. I'm like, could this actually be true? So we're gonna need some proof, Tuto. We're gonna need some proof, my friend. Because Nikki's been all over me that without proof we can't believe a word you say now.
Throw
All right,
me up.
let's shift into some baseball. A lot of great things to talk about, like new rules, right?
Talk about new rules. Yes.
You got new
Round robin.
rules.
Yeah.
You know, we've got I mean, look, we're right here at the season, right? We're right outside the lines to starting up the 2023 season. High expectations for a lot of teams. I'm gonna start off with you, Mark. You know, you guys live, eat, and sleep Yankees baseball. First, give me your as Nikki just said, give me your overall thought on the new rules. If you've dug into it. If you haven't dug into them, that's cool too. But I'm sure you've at least checked out some of the new rules. Any thoughts on the new rules? And then, of course, we'll kick it over to Scott and David.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like some of the new rules. I like the pace of the game, especially spring training, and some of these rules were implemented in the minor leagues last year. So the 15-second pitch clock, the 20-second, if there's a runner on base, there's 20 seconds. If there's a fly out, I think it's 30 seconds to kind of get the ball back in and then start moving. It's really good. I do like the fact that they're really strict about it in spring training so that later on in the season, there's not going to be these issues. So the whole thing, what was it, a few days ago with the Red Sox and Dave, remind me who was the other team? Red Sox and was it Minnesota?
The Braves.
Thank you. The Braves.
The Red Sox.
Right. That ninth inning, 3-2 count. And then the batter wasn't ready and they gave him the strike 3 call because he wasn't there with 8 seconds. I'd rather see all that happen in spring training than say game 7 of a World Series, Like that's what all this is based on. The bigger bases, everything I heard, they look like pizza boxes, but it's not. They're not supposed to be rounded, so there's
no joke.
Injuries aren't supposed to be there. And it's
Scott,
really these things are huge.
Scott, is there any advantage? Like what? I mean, the bigger bases just seems like they're appeasing somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
Give me some background on this bigger bases thing.
So I think bigger bases is a couple issues, right? Number one is safety, right? Bigger bases, less guys get stepped on, say first base, right? But a lot of it has to do, they're trying to promote stolen bases, right? And they did a study, like literally, it's like you're there a half a second quicker, right? Think about how many stolen bases are bang plays, right? They want to promote stolen bases. That's why you have the 2 pickoffs. After 2 pickoffs, if you pick off, you have to pick them off or it's a balk. You know what I mean? So they're trying to get more stolen bases into the game. That's the base behind the bases.
Is it forcing it though, just a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I mean, stolen bases are a time of the past. I mean, I was lucky to play with Ricky Henderson, the greatest of all time. You
Yes,
know
he
what I mean?
was.
So I mean, but no problem with stealing bases. You know what I mean? I still remember Vince Coleman stole 133 in 1 year. They don't have teams that steal 133 in a season.
Yeah.
But it's just a different game. The thing is knock the ball at the ballpark 3 times a game, and you win.
Yeah, again, if you're going to your point, if you're going to steal a base, you're going to steal a base. If you've got a guy that likes to steal a base, he's got good speed, he's got a good first step, he's got a good jump, they're going to steal a bases. I can't. And the rule with the 2-time pickoff or the balk thing, like that sours me to the game in general. Yeah. As I said before, I don't know, like I don't want to be an old man. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. I know Danny and Nikki always are saying I'm the old guy, like I'm Scrooge, guys.
Get off my lawn. Yeah.
Yeah, get off my lawn. That's me. That's what they say. Yeah.
There you go.
Like
just keep preaching that. Yeah, Craig, just keep preaching that. It's all right.
You sure?
Hey, pipe down over there, Mark. You don't have to work with there. All right,
if I got these guys behind me, then I'm sticking to the get off my lawn thing because I really there's some things I miss about the game. Guys, you cover the Yankees. Right. You guys are nonstop Yankees. There's so many things about just watching Yankee baseball that I just miss so much that I don't watch the game anymore. Like, I hate to say it. I got to admit it. Like I missed, as Scott said, I missed the pure base stealer. I saw the only catcher that ever threw out Ricky Henderson twice in one game, Bob Boone. I mean, like those were cool things. You know what I mean? Going first to third. You know what I mean? Like, I miss the hip hip hooray, Jorge. You know what I mean? We used to do that nonstop. There doesn't seem to be characters in the game anymore like there was. So Mark, help me out here. Is the game that far gone? Is it now just analytics and war? I mean, because it says the flavor of the game seems so much different.
Well, the flavor of the game is different, especially from when Scott played, because there's a lot players. When Scott played, there's a lot more players that would stay with their team, or they would go to one team as opposed to having a career with multiple teams now. So the fact that everyone moves around a lot kind of waters it down. The hated rivalries and the heated rivalries, they're not as prevalent before. Like, we all grew up in the heydays of, or not the heydays, I should say, but the second coming of the Yankees Red Sox feuds that would happen in late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep. Kurt Schilling,
back even the early Pedro Martinez, all that stuff.
Yep, sure.
All that stuff. But they hated each other. It didn't matter that you had Dominican guys on both sides, but they just didn't like each other one bit. Nowadays, you had Ramiro Mendoza left the Yankees, went to the Red Sox. You had Johnny Damon left the Red Sox, came over to the Yankees. Jacoby Ellsbury, which is a disaster in and of itself, came from the Red Sox to the Yankees. But these moves happen.
He was a great pickup.
Yeah, right.
What a worst contract ever.
What another waste of money right there that was.
Nikki, hold on. Worst contract, Jacoby Ellsbury or Kenny Galladay?
Kenny Galladay. None of you will change my mind. That's it. No. I celebrated yesterday.
Yeah, we did. I made this joke, guys, about Kenny Galladay. He got paid $72 million. I'm like, just think, you could take $70 million and give $1 million to 70 different countries to build wells, feed kids, create schools. You can make a difference in 70 countries, and still be a millionaire. Instead, the guy had one touchdown.
We have a great fan because they were tweeting
and one awesome play, Danny. Exactly.
Nikki Day, like she's so excited that Kenny Galladay's gone. Like it's National Nikki Day, and I was like, no, September 3rd is, but it could be February.
Oh, we're gonna celebrate, Danny. Yeah, we're gonna throw a rush party. We're all gonna burn 19 jerseys.
What on September 3rd? Yeah, let's do it.
David, tell me where the Yankees are right now. Where are they? As I alluded to before, David, it seems to be there are guys on Boone's side and guys that don't like Boone. Where are you guys on Boone? I got to tell you, I don't dislike Boone. Like I said, one of the best memories I've ever had was with Aaron Boone at the plate, right? But Girardi was within one game of going to the World Series and got the axe. I don't know if you guys like Girardi or not, but where are the Yankees right now? And where do you guys sit on Boone?
So we our other cast member,
That's a
Danny
lot, huh?
Wow, I guess it's a
he's
loaded question.
Danny on our show is a defender of Boone. He absolutely loves Aaron Boone. I mean, let me get back to your question first, though. Like, I don't mind Aaron Boone. Like, that night that when he hit that home run off Wakefield was the happiest moment of my life. I jumped up off my couch and put holes through the drop ceiling in my parents' basement. I was so excited. With Girardi, though, like, he had been there since 2008, or actually took over in 08 when after Torrey got let go. And he had one championship in all that time. Like, do I think he deserved to get fired in 2017 after that game against Houston? No. But there was a new era of players coming in, and that old school mentality was just oil and water at some point. And I think Girardi had been there long enough where nobody was really listening to him. And I mean, he had to, discipline Gary Sanchez in the middle of the game one time for not hustling. And it was just time. Unfortunately, it was time for Joe to go. With Boone, you get the other extreme where everything's white gloves and trying to be this new mentality of managers trying to be a player's friend and everything. And, do I think it's all of Boone's fault? No, I think analytics is playing a big role in this, which I do not agree with. I am so sick and tired of watching these nerds upstairs in whatever backroom office they have handing Boone a piece of paper that says this is what you're going to do rather than looking on the field and seeing what's going on in front of you. Like, you shouldn't need a piece of paper to tell you that Aroldis Chapman shouldn't be on the mound against the Houston Astros in a playoff game and watch a ball get launched into center field for them to go to the World Series after you just tied the game up on DJ's 2-run home run. You shouldn't need a computer algorithm to tell you this. You should have it in your gut. And that's what Joe Torre was so good at, was seeing what was going on in the field in front of him and able to act like this at a moment's notice. Joe would do the same thing. Girardi would wait until Jabba Chamberlain gave up a grand slam to go pull him out of the game, and then the game's 8-4. I watched it happen with my own eyes at Yankee Stadium a few years ago. It was just maddening. So you've gone from one extreme to the next, and hopefully this year will be the year. I definitely want to see Oswald Peraza at shortstop. I've had enough of the IKF experiment. No disrespect to IKF. He did what he was asked to come here and do. He did it all right, but Peraza should be the shortstop. And I don't know, after what play Volpe had today, that's some stiff competition right there. I want to see these kids play. You held on to these top 10 prospects for a reason. You didn't go out and get Luis Castillo. You didn't go out and get Brian Reynolds or Juan Soto. So use these kids. Use them. Don't let them just sit there and age out like Estevan Florial has.
Scott, let me ask you this. One of my favorite things about watching your era of baseball, my era of watching baseball, was the role player. Every team, and Mark and David, I'm sure you have one guy on the Yankees that was like your favorite role player, the guy that just got it done, whether it was like Soho, whether it was Chad. Oh my goodness,
Curtis.
Chad Curtis. Thank you. I'm like, I couldn't get it out. Chad Curtis, like Scott, is there just no room? Yeah. Is there no room for the role player anymore?
So that's a tricky. That's baseball has gotten to be a high dollar player or young players, right? That middle of the line guy, is kind of run his course because they overload a bunch of big contracts, and then they figured they'd rather keep these younger guys in that type of role, because at the end of the day, that guy, like you're saying, Chad Curtis, who's a buddy of mine, I haven't thought about his name in so many years. But sometimes those guys are the heart and soul of the team. You know what I mean? Because they're the ones that kept sometimes, even though they were just, not really anybody important on the team, but when they got in there and sparked the team, they were kind of spark plugs. You know what I mean? Because because Scott Livingstone was the guy for us in San Diego. You know what I mean? He would play, twice a week, but he'd come in and get a pinch hit here and there. And every time he did, Rally came behind him. You know what I mean? And baseball's just changed. Back to your question about Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone's a friend of mine as well. I know him, and I know Brett. I know Mr. Bob. I know all of them, right? And he's a good manager, right? But he's not managing. He's just I don't even know what to call it, because he's told who to play, like they were saying, when to take guys out, who should. Believe it or not, every major league team has two nerds. I don't want to say nerds because I'm not very smart, right? So I'm saying nerd, when I say nerd, I mean they're smart, right? Because I'm not, right? I'm just a dumb jock. But they have two in the dugout. They're literally printing out stuff in the dugout, handing it over. You know what I mean? They're not even up in the box anymore. They got two of them in the dugout.
I think we took Billy Bean too far.
100%. And Billy Bean's a friend of mine too. And trust me, he wasn't smart enough to figure out some analytics, but it's gone above him. And the crazy thing, now it's in football, it's in basketball, it's going to be in hockey before you know it. Bruce Bochy was my manager. I saw him. It was now probably the year or so before he retired. My dear friend Kevin Towers, who was actually my GM, but he also drafted me out of college. He passed away from cancer, and I saw Boch at his funeral, and I'm thinking now maybe it's 6 years ago. I'm just off the top of my head. It seems like yesterday, but it's been a while. And I saw Boch. He was like, "Sam, man, I'm about done." I was like, "Really?" Because he's not that old. I'm 54. Boch is only 6 years older than me. Bochy was my A-ball manager, double-A manager. He was my manager in the big leagues for 4 years. We won championships between minor leagues and the big leagues division titles together. And he's like, I can't take it. He said, I can't take people telling me who to play. He says, I know. He says, I'm the same manager way back in the high desert, which was a Cal League in 1991. He says, I manage off a gut. I manage off of, he says, I just manage off I watch the game and I just make a gut feel. Hey, and sometime it works, sometime it doesn't. But he said, and sure enough, he retired a year later. Now, he came back with the Rangers. But the only reason I know he came back with the Rangers is Chris Young, who was his pitchers in San Diego, who's a very smart guy. I think he's an Ivy League guy as well.
Yeah,
but I'm sure Boch said, I'm only coming back. As Boch probably said, I'm only coming back if you let me manage. And he's going to take that. He wants the analytics to read, right? But it doesn't mean those analytics decide who he puts in the game in the seventh inning, or who he plays against a right-hander on turf when it's 85 degrees and the wind's blowing in and they got crappy lights in the stadium. You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to.
Nikki, you like the analytics, don't you?
No, I hate it. No, I don't hate it, but why can't we find like a nice balance, right? Because I think just in sports in general, don't lose that gut feel, right? You're just relying on analytics all the time. I think there's something to be said. Look at Andy Reid, right? He's got to be one of the most ballsy coaches out there. And that's not all analytics. He knows what he's got. He's got a gut feel for things and he makes these calls. And I hate to see sports lose their edge. So I understand the need for it. I just wish that, there was a little bit more of a balance.
Especially when you're building a team, I think you might need the analytics too. Like, this guy does this well, this guy does that well. But when you're in the game, who knows the player better than the manager? Right. I mean, he should, and the trainers, and the bench coaches, and these guys should know what sparks the team.
Yeah.
And if you take that away from them, it's going to be harder and harder to win.
Let me tell you, you know what analytics will never show is when that guy walks in the clubhouse and you can tell, like, damn, that dude is hungover from last night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And it happens, man. It happens every Saturday night, every Sunday morning when there's a day game. There's somebody going out getting tore up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they walk in that clubhouse. And that guy looks like, whew,
yeah.
I ain't put him in the line today. But
and they put him right in the lineup too.
That's right.
He's making the call upstairs. He's like, "What kind of hangover stats you got for me?"
Exactly. Yeah, right? But that's life, though. You know what I mean? It's true.
All right.
That was my biggest. Sorry, Craig.
Vegas. No, go ahead. Vegas. Scott, I'm listening. I like Vegas talk.
No, I wasn't even talking about that. But what I was saying, like, the nerdy thing that I don't like about today's game is a guy will go 4 for 5 on like a hot streak, and then like the next day he'll be benched because of like not feeling. That would be the one thing I get mad about with the modern day football. for sure.
Seems like
Oh,
yeah, that's who
you mean
David.
from the standpoint is he doesn't
Yeah.
really. There's no fire in his gut.
No, there's no feeling. Like let's say for Boone, like Stanton goes like for the whole week he's batting like 500. Then the next day they sit him after he hits like 3 home runs in a game because they needed to give him that like those type of days kind of crazy to me today.
Yeah, the added rest days.
Yeah, it's like the NBA.
Yeah, I got you. Oh
Load
yeah, you know.
management.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the old back-to-back games, night to day? You need an extra day off or something, whatever that.
right. Yeah.
The night game to the day game thing. I got it. All right. Well, Mark, give me. What am I looking forward to, Mark, with this 2023? Yankee season. Everybody got their wish, and the judge is back. That was a little nerve-wracking for Yankee fans for a while. But again, dating myself, like, can we just have one guy that's just cool? Like, I mean, like, can we just have like one guy that's gritty? Can we have one guy that's on the team more than 2 years and everybody likes him? I mean, like, they sold me on Torres. No. They sold me on Bird. No, Bird. Like, I've got this thing, and I love my Yankees, but man, like, every year I get sold on this new flavor of ice cream. And then that next year I come back for that flavor of ice cream, and that flavor is no good anymore. And it also plays a different position.
Yeah. The Yankees kind of have done that to too many guys along the way. I mean, the whole Glaber moving to second base to shortstop back. I mean, it really kind of messed with the psyche. But I think that, as Dave pointed out before, having Oswald Peraza as your opening day shortstop, I think you'll see a really good Gold Glove caliber type of player on the defensive side. And the kid put on another 10 to 15 pounds of muscle and good weight. So you're going to see the pop in the bat, which especially early in the seasons in the minor leagues, he really didn't have. I think sometime in the middle of the season, probably maybe after the Super 2 status, you'll see Anthony Volpe come up, which means that you're going to see additional moves that are going to happen.
Okay.
With IKF being traded, there's always the rumors out there. Gleyber Torres is on the block to get traded. So that's going to open up some spots. And then you have the outfield. I mean, Judge isn't going anywhere for 9 years. You got Harrison Bader in center field, who's on the last year of his contract. You have Aaron Hicks, who, if he doesn't get traded before April 1st, then he gets his 10-5 rights, and then he can't move at all.
What is up with that dude? Like, he's another anomaly I can't figure out.
He's an enigma. I mean, he cashed it on his one good season, got his money, and then kind of fell right off the face of the earth again.
But
he's another. And we're talking before, and everyone was talking before about Boone. He's another one who turned around, trashed Boone in the press, and now he's coming back with his hat in hand, going, "Yeah, no, everything's gonna be good now." And I don't understand. The managers back then, they would have hauled him into the manager's office, shoot him out, and then he would have been riding the pine for a little while, and then had to force his way back in.
Him too. There would have been a fine on top of it as well.
I mean, Scott could probably tell us better stories about those things happening than anybody else.
We just want to hear Scott's stories. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me ask. Again, I was definitely a better football player than I was a baseball player because I can never hit the curveball. But catchers are my thing.
You know the best way to learn how to hit a curveball?
Please tell me.
Don't miss the fastball.
Oh yeah. It's a good point.
That's what I do. There's a former minor leaguer, Tony Morrison, who's in the area where I live, in the Tampa Bay area, and he was teaching kid, and kid goes, "Oh, I want to learn how to hit the curveball." He goes, "Why do you want to learn how to hit the curveball?" He goes, "Hit the fastball as hard as you can."
Exactly.
That's all you have to do.
Don't miss the fastball.
Yeah, so you never have to see the curveball. I got that. It's a little too late for me.
Yeah.
David, who's going to be behind the plate? Who's catching for the Yankees in 23?
I still think you're going to see a platoon of Higashioka and Trevino unless Ben Rortvet can stop being a piece of glass and getting injured every time you turn your head. Apparently now he's still out with an oblique thing. I don't know. One guy I do have my eyes on this year after seeing what he did in the game today is Carlos Nevarez. I'm going to be keeping my eye on him throughout this season to see if he can make a push up through the system.
Maybe
Batted
they bring him up in
194
the second half.
Probably not. He's probably still 2 or 3 years away. He batted 194 last year in high A, and then the season before, split time between low A and high A, and bat 280, 250, somewhere in that ballpark. So, but I, just got my eyes on him for sure.
Yeah, I just always, I love Yankee catchers. And I'm waiting for the next great Yankee catcher that's not Sanchez. Like that, because like every time I'd be like, yes, Sanchez. Oh no!
If they could find a way, to find a catcher that has Sanchez's arm and Posada's bat, I'd be happy.
And Posada's leadership ability too, because they used to look up to him.
You know what? Great question. I'd be happy.
Vicky, tell me. So, when you think about any sport, do you not agree that every really good team has a really good leader?
Yeah, of course they do. You have to. I think that's anything, right? At a workplace, like anywhere, like any good team has a really good leader.
So, when the Giants won a Super Bowl in 2007 and 2011, let's remove the 2011 season, the 2007 season. Who's the leader of that team?
Oh, Strahan?
Yes. Eli Manning is Eli Manning, but the leader of the team is big, bold, brash, and people respect him, right? A lot of teams have very vocal, strong leadership. Scott, who was the leader of some of those teams that you played on?
With the Padres, Tony Gwynn was the voice.
Oh,
Caminiti was the heart. Ken Caminiti.
Oh yeah, that's right. Those guys. That was a good pair. Those two.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. '97, I played in Seattle. Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez, Randy Johnson, Jay Buhner, those guys. But Jay Buhner was the heart of that team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he played with three of the best players in the history of the game, and Johnson, Griffey, and A-Rod. But Buhner was Bones was his nickname. He was the heart and soul of that team.
Dan, what's the Seinfeld into the Seinfeld joke about trading Jay Buhner? Oh, I can't hear you, Dan.
Gosh, technical issues tonight.
Yeah, I think I lost your audio, Dan. Right? Isn't there the Seinfeld joke where he's always saying that he shouldn't have Steinbrenner shouldn't have traded Jay Buhner? It's like kind of those guys, those gritty guys, right? Yeah. Who's the gritty guy, Mark? Who's the gritty guy these Yankees are going to lean on?
That's a tough one. I mean the club. I mean Judge is the captain of the team, but I think everyone respects Anthony Rizzo on that team the most. I think he comes in with that pedigree where he's the glue guy. He does all the little things. I mean, if you ever watch someone bunting, like you'll see exactly where he stands because he's right next to the pitcher and pushing forward. No fear of the ball coming right at him. Like he's that guy that brings that team together, and and you need the guys like that.
Listen. What was the kid's name? I apologize, escaping to me. Who he was a second baseman. Got in a fight. Got traded a year later. Little scrappy Italian dude. What was his name? It was about 4 years ago. I'm drawing a blank right now. And he got he got in a fight at the Red Sox game. I think then the next year they traded him, and I was always like, yeah, I guess you're
thinking Tyler Austin?
Yeah, Tyler Austin.
Yeah.
Tyler Austin.
Yeah, first baseman.
First baseman.
He came up. He was originally a catcher, and I think he had a cancer or something like that, or a bad back, and converted him to the infield.
I'm just thinking like over the years of these guys that don't stick around, but like this scrappiness, like it just doesn't seem to fit the Yankees mold anymore.
I think.
I mean, Brett Gardner was here for 14 years,
and he was blue collar.
He was a gritty player.
Unless he's coming back.
I think what they tried to get last year when they got Donaldson, they tried to get the scrappy player in Donaldson, but he had a really good defensive year. He just had a really bad offensive year, and he was injured for most of the year too. Not to give me excuses, but I mean you can't let fastballs go right down the middle of the plate and can't even figure out to swing for those. I mean that's number one. Like Scott was saying before, You hit the fastball as hard as you can. That's your job.
That's my big takeaway from the show tonight. Right? just hit the fastball. That's my big
God,
takeaway.
you know what? And 30 years later, I'm still trying to figure out how to hit the curveball. I just needed to get Scott. Talk to Scott.
Exactly.
God, that's all you needed. Yeah. Who knew?
Hey, Craig, I got a funny Joe Girardi story for you because I know these guys, obviously, it was 2004. I was in Albuquerque, AAA with the Marlins, and he had just started, he was with the Cardinals at that year, and he was down on a rehab stint. And I faced him when he was with Colorado. And like Joe Girardi was always a good catch and throw guy. Couldn't really hit much. He was just kind of an inside out Judy. He just fight the ball off. And that's when catchers could hit, 220, 210 and throw guys out and catch, and you had a job, So I walked up, and I hadn't seen him. And at this point, it'd probably been 5-6 years.
Okay.
So I walked up to the plate, and, then I was batting Scott Sanders. And so I walked up and I tapped him on his thing. He's like, "What's up, Joe?" He's like, "Scott Sanders." He says, "It's been forever." And he leaned over and looked at the scoreboard. And at the time, I was hitting like 381, which I don't, in that range. I was hitting good, right? It's in Albuquerque, high altitude. So he was like, "Huh, you can hit, huh?" I was like, "No, Joe. Sometimes you just get lucky, right?" So first pitch was a fastball. And I whacked it right up the middle, right past the pitcher. And as I'm taking my first step out the box, he's like, "You lying motherfucker." And so I'm running down the baseline laughing, I'm giggling. I hit first and I stop, I turn, I look at him, he takes his mask off and he winks at me. And he's getting it like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is a great story, man.
Yeah.
That is a great story. Yeah, you're right too, man. Like back then, if you could throw out 50% of your runners, you know what I mean, and hit 240, you had a job.
That's it, and call a good game. Call a good game, and that's it. Catch,
Yeah. Well, I like David's approach. I mean, he's got he thinks that there's some hope at the position because, again, when you go with a guy like Posada all those years and he's got his own chant in the stadium, you're like, man, I miss those days, right?
Oh, yeah.
There were some special players there. Dan, what are you doing with your Mets? What's
Yeah, why are you here? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because like your audio is not great. Your audio is not great.
He's over there trying to tell Steve Cohen who's next to buy on the list. Right?
Well, we can't really say that. We did that for 2 decades.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know if Mark we could actually say that.
Yeah, but nowadays you can when you have the owners getting together to talk about the fact that Steve Cohen was trying to put a $300 million payroll and was going upwards close to $400 million, and they're all flipping out, especially all these low revenue teams who get money from Steve Cohen, get all this revenue sharing, and then they still don't put that money on the field. They put the money in their pockets. That's a whole nother ball game, and that's a whole nother discussion for when this becomes a economics podcast instead.
Yeah. No doubt.
That'll be the next thing. That'll be the next part of the Rush brand. We're gonna have a podcast.
Listen, I had shows on all the time.
I'm not hosting that one. I know Tuto said Nikki needs more shows a week. I don't want to be on the economics podcast.
Yeah, I got enough jobs right now.
Yeah. See,
all right,
Nikki and friends is enough,
Seriously. All right, Nikki, tell me something else we should be talking about.
What else should we be talking about? Why don't you guys give me some bold predictions? Or, well, Danny, if your audio would work, can we hear you now? I think the Mets, over under for the win is 94.5. So what do you over, under? Can't hear you.
Dan might have to go thumbs up, thumbs down on 94. Maybe he'll come back in.
He's trying to come back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it is that now I have a new laptop, so I have at least an excuse.
An old laptop, so maybe you just stick with what works.
I can't. The old laptop's dead, but I did go. My new mic wasn't working, so I had to go to the old faithful one.
Yeah, you gotta bust that out a few times. All right. Well, Yankees win total over under 95.
Definitely over.
Over.
Scott, you think the Yankees can win 95 games?
They won 100 plus.
Yeah. I'll agree. I do. If they can't win 97, 98 games, there's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, they got to stay healthy. If they stay healthy, they'll win 100, obviously.
100%. As Scott would probably tell you, I know nothing about pitching in the major leagues, but, your number one and number two got to stay healthy or you're not winning 70 games.
100%.
No. What about some bold predictions before we get out of here and get one more good story from Scott? Because I know he's got one. He told me he would tell us. So you guys got any bold predictions for the season, or you want to anything?
Mark, you go
Come
first,
on.
brother.
Oh, you're gonna put me on the spot here. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's what
am.
we do.
All right. No, that's fine. I think that the Yankees are gonna have their top two guys. I think Cole and Rodon are both gonna be 20-game winners this year, and they're gonna go 1-3 in the Cy Young.
Did you wait? Did I hear? Did you say two? Not one, but two 20-game winners?
I say two 20-game winners.
Dude, if we have two 20-game winners, where are you in Tampa?
I'm born and raised in New York, but I live down in Tampa now. So I'm like,
I'm not killing you. We live in Tampa. I'm saying if the Yankees have two 20-game winners, I will fly to Tampa, and I will take you and your family, friends, whoever. I will take all of you out to dinner.
Oh, we're going to Burns then. We're going to Burns.
Well, he's good like that.
Two 20-game winners.
Two 20-game winners. You asked for bold you want a bold predictions? I'm giving you a bold prediction.
I want the bold predictions. Yeah,
I'm shaking your hand, Mark.
Virtual handshake. Okay.
Virtual handshake.
Can I come to dinner too? I just want to come.
Yeah, you can come, but why?
What do you mean, why?
You're just adding on to my bill.
Yeah, that's what I do.
All right, you can hear me better now. Sorry, I was on the ice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, Danny, over under on your Mets.
I'm going over.
Why is everybody so optimistic all the time? I love it.
No, they won 101 games last year, so I would be happy with 96. I just want to make the playoffs this year.
Wait a minute. Joyce just said, I'm going to put Joyce up
That's
here.
my mom. That's my mother.
Right.
Yeah, me and Joyce.
All right,
Mom
Joyce,
wants to come to dinner too.
Yeah.
Joyce, I would probably bring you and leave your son home. So if we're going to go down,
You guys all
Because I'm a
have
Patriots
dinner.
fan, isn't it?
No. I think me and Joyce are going to have our own dinner, and you guys can sit at another table.
No, I found Joyce first of all.
I think that's what we're going to do.
Joyce, if they have two 20-game winners, we will go hang out with Mark, and we will have dinner, and of course we'll bring Nikki along too.
Of course, you have to.
We leave David at home because he's no fun. We won't want to bring him.
We got Joyce, so that's
You
all.
see him all the time. He's family. I'm just kidding,
She
David.
doesn't see me all the time.
maybe
She lives back in Rhode Island.
Oh,
I don't see my mom all the time.
All right, fine.
Fine,
you can come too. All right, I'm gonna tell you this quick one because I know Scott's got one. Scott, this is a Louisiana tie for you. When the Philadelphia Eagles built their new stadium, Lincoln Financial Field, and the Giants and the Eagles were playing each other. I live in South Jersey. I'm about 50 minutes from the beach, and I'm about half hour from Philly. So, I was working for CBS Sports, which is and down in, of course, that's the Philadelphia Eagles broadcasting network, and we got some tickets to go see Giants Eagles, right? So I brought a friend of mine that I sit with at the Giants season ticket holders, home games. We sit in the section, and we stay to the very end. The Giants, of course, get their ass kicked, and we stay to the very end to let everybody go out, right? Because it was just a mob scene, and we didn't want to get thrown in the river. So we wait, and we finally were starting to go out, and there was the hallway out had like a chain link fence. They already had locked it up, I guess. We stayed probably a half hour longer than we should have, which was probably an hour actually after the game. So we start going down the stairwells, and doom, 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 all the lights go off except for the ones that like the emergency lighting that just kind of light the hallways. Right. And I hear from up top the Louisiana accent. Anybody down there? And I can't do it, of course, right? And we're like, who is that? All of a sudden, Olivia Manning, I think it's Olivia Manning and Archie Manning.
Yeah,
walking down the steps, and they were so kind of like, they're like, gentlemen, I think we overstayed our welcome, and we can't seem to get out that way. Would you know where to go? And we're like, me and my friend standing in Lincoln Financial in the dark. Okay, totally slack jaw. We're like, right, and we're like, hi, Mr. Manning. I mean, we really, we were like, what is happening right now, right?
Yeah.
So we walk down all the stairs with them, and we're taking turns. I'm talking to Mrs. Manning. My friend's talking to Archie.
Yeah.
He shifts and goes to the front. I talk to Archie. He talks to Mrs. Manning. And we're walking we're on the back side, and we're walking through the parking lot. Just lovely people, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, so Mrs. Manning, what happens if Eli plays Pete? And she's like, I just want him to be okay. And Archie's like, she loves the baby boy. It's all about Eli. And she's like, stop it, Archie. She's like, I just want them both to be healthy. That's it.
Yeah.
So we finally get up to where the players' entrance is, and you have to kind of dip in the stadium to go back out. It's just like a passageway under a tunnel under the stadium.
Right.
And we open up the door. Big bouncer guy goes, oh, hello, Mr. Manning. Come on in. He lets Olivia in and Mr. Manning, and he closes the door on me and my buddy. My buddy's like 250. He's a big dude, right? And he's like, he's just about to slam the door on him, and he goes, excuse me, sir. He goes, those two nice gentlemen from New Jersey, they're with us. And the guy turns around and he looks at him and he goes, you heard me, son. Let my friends in. He opens up the door. We had the biggest smiles you could ever imagine. And my friend walks through first. I walk through last. And I look at him and I'm like, ha ha. We walking right in with Archie and Olivia Manning. They they say hello, goodbye, the whole thing. We shake their hands. The whole night we could not stop laughing on the look on the bouncer's face.
Yeah.
When this, at the time he was probably, 60 years old. He was like, excuse me, son. He's like, they're with us. And he was like, oh, okay. Great. One of the greatest days ever. It was like about an hour and a half with Archie Manning and Olivier Manning and lost in the bowels of Lincoln Financial.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Such good people, man. I just remember Archie being like, she loves the baby boy. She's always rooting for Eli. And she's like, stop it, Archie. Stop it. I just want them both to be safe. Anyways, that's my Louisiana connection story. All right. Before we go, Nikki, wrap it up. Let Scott roll out the story you've been pressing.
Yes, I know. Go ahead, Scott. You told me what you were going to tell everybody.
So I'm gonna hold down for that. I got a George Steinbrenner story, but I'll hold that the next time I come on. I got a better one. Craig asked me about a Trevor Hoffman story.
Okay.
Yeah, because the guy was just so good listen, if you're a Yankee fan and you have Mariano Rivera, the only other guy that ever even remotely even was in the stadium with him was Hoffman. So I'd love to hear a Hoffman story.
All right, and it's an after-hour story, so it's even better.
It's not that. He's just teasing it now.
Yeah.
No, so we were in Pittsburgh, right? And when we played in San Diego, we had a really close-knit team. So we'd always, when we went out after games, we'd always go out like 12 deep. You know what I mean? It would be anywhere from 8 to 12 people we'd roll out with, So whenever the bars were shut down, we used to play a game with the taxis, right? This was before Uber, right? I'm old. Don't forget, right? So we jump in taxi cabs, right? So like 3 guys would jump in one taxi, another 3 guys would jump on another. And what we'd do is we'd try to race back to the hotel, right? And we'd be paying to tell the taxi guy, like, go faster. We'll give you a $20 tip. It was whatever. So we're like, you can see taxi just kind of scooting back to try to get back to the hotel. And at the hotel, I had one of those big circle, drive-ins, right?
Yep.
So we had at least 4 taxis, maybe more than that, from the bar heading back to the hotel. And it wasn't, but maybe a mile at the most, maybe 2 miles. It was close. So Trevor's taxi went in first, and then the other ones followed in, right? So when he got out his taxi, a lot of people don't know, but Trevor Hoffman was drafted as a shortstop. He was a really good athlete, but he couldn't hit. So the Cincinnati Reds turned him into a pitcher, which ended up trading him to Marlins. Marlins traded him to San Diego. So he's a really good athlete. So when the second taxi drove in, he took off running, and he jumped up, and his first foot hit the hood. His second foot hit the top of the car. His third foot hit the trunk, and then he turned around and did like this. He went like, and like into the taxi, like, because his taxi won, right? And so he did like that, and the doors opened up, and it was the GM, Kevin Towers, who I told you about earlier, and Bruce Bochy.
Oh no!
Right?
Oh.
Because he thought it was one of us, but we all saw it because we all pulled him behind him, right?
Oh.
And he was like,
"Oh wow,
hey guys, like deuces, I'm out," right? So So he goes up. So the funny thing was, so the next day, once again, like I said, Kevin Towers, he drafted me out of college. He was my scout when I got drafted. So me and him have been friends since I was 21 years old. Bruce Bochy had been my manager since I was 22 years old. Well, yeah, 22, because I went the next year and played for Bochy. So the next day, Kevin Towers, Lord, he's, let's let his soul rest in peace. But I said, KT, what happened? What were you thinking when Trevor jumped over that taxi? He says, not gonna lie to you, Sam, man, me and Boch were kind of a bit to the wind. He said, but when it happened, he said, I looked over at Boch, and Boch is like, what was that? And Kevin Towers like, I'm not sure, but I think it was our closer.
Oh my God! He thought it was a completely like someone else was in that taxi.
Yeah, he thought it was one of our taxis. He just thought it was one of the teammates' taxis. But yeah, but the Boch and the brother,
That's great.
Just by chance. So,
dude. Nothing worse than showing off and being a nut job in front of the GM.
Yeah. He had like 40 saves, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah. Good point.
At that point, he had 40 some saves. It didn't really matter.
Anything after 30 saves, the tolerance level goes up.
Yeah, when you get to 60 some of the years, so it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
They just want to make sure you're on time.
Scott, was he a short guy?
No, he's about probably 6'1".
Okay.
But he's strong, man. Big legs, strong.
Because Hoffman just always struck me as a thinner guy, not like Mariano, who was like the ultimate thin rail guy. But Hoffman never struck me as a big guy. But because I guess a lot of guys are bigger than him. But
the problem with him, his legs are monstrous, right? He's literally got fullback legs, so it makes him look short. But he's a solid 6'1", maybe even 6'2". But he's the hardest working guy. He's the hardest working player I've ever played with.
Yeah, I remember his quads were like Saquon thick.
Yeah, sick. Yeah.
Got to produce the power, man.
That's right.
Unless you're Mariano.
The funny thing
Mariano, and you just sling that thing.
Another crazy story. So Trevor Hoffman threw hard. Like he used to throw 93, 94, 95 when he first came from the Marlins to the Padres. And we used to, on Sundays, whenever we would get done playing, we'd always go to the beach and dig a hole and put a fire, or they'd come to my house. And his shoulder was hurting him, you know what I mean? So he's just throwing a football, but it was already hurt. But that's when he really knows how bad his shoulder was hurting him. And that was one off season. And he didn't even have a changeup, he threw a changeup, but it wasn't very good. But after he hurt his arm, like his fastball went down to 88 to 91, but that's when he developed his changeup, and it changed his whole career. You know what I mean? Like, so when we talk about injuries, like if he never hurt his shoulder, he probably would have never been what he ended up being. You know what I mean? Because he never would have developed his changeup like he did.
That's interesting. How about that? Start off as one thing, get hurt, and become something better.
Totally different, yeah.
Wow.
Well, I guess you could say that about Schmaltz too, right?
Yeah, Smoltz did it, but he did it kind of out of necessity because they needed that closer, and but he had Tommy John, but he still threw hard, with that nasty slider he had. So, but he reinvented himself as a closer because of limiting innings that they want to give him.
David, give me something. Give me the best story from the podcast. Give me a greatest story you've heard. Interview somebody. Something happened at the stadium. Give us one story we can rest on.
So we actually 2 weeks ago had one of our biggest episodes we ever done. We had Wandy Peralta on the podcast on February 6th, 17th. We had him. I know he and I have a mutual friend in common. We'll leave it at that. And yeah, he came on and had my buddy from Puerto Rico, my buddy Jonathan, came on and translated the whole thing, did an awesome job. And it was just great. It was the first time. I mean, I have a really good baseball story from back in 2017, but it's kind of long. But to talk to someone. All right, so I'm in the Air Force. So before I went to Alaska on a temporary duty assignment for a year, a buddy of mine went to the fantasy camp that year. And he was like, hey, I know you're on leave because I went down there after I got home from a deployment overseas in 2016.
Okay.
So January 2017, he's like, take a vacation, come meet me down here. I got a surprise for you. I'm like, okay. So I fly down to Tampa. I stay at the Bay Harbor Hotel. And I get to the hotel and like 15 minutes goes by. He's like, are you here yet? I'm like, yeah. He's like, get in the car and get over to GMS. I'm like, okay. So I go driving over there. I go through security. They pat me down or whatever. I'm greeted at the door by Jesse Barfield, Mickey Rivers, Ron Blomberg, Gil Patterson, And I was just like,
Wow.
what
You're like,
in the name
you're
of
like,
God
what is happening
going
right now?
on right now?
My God.
It was an out of body experience. So then all of a sudden the locker room door flies open and I hear, "Hey!" And I'm like, it was Tanyan Sturts. Now, Sturts and I became friends through social media 3 years prior to this. Mutual
Oh, wow.
friend, we had some mutual friend in common or whatever. And I turned around and he was like, "It's about time you got your ass down here. I've only been asking you since I called you when you were deployed." And I was like, "Look, man, it's not that simple." And he's like, "I'm just
Yeah.
messing with you." So for 4 nights, I drank and hung out with Jim Liritz, El Duque. Jim Liritz actually bought me a beer. I went to the bar and I was like, "Hey, let me get a Corona." And Liritz goes, "Put that on my tab." And I'm like,
You're
what
like-
is going
you're
on?
like-
And I'm like, "King, you
Jim
didn't have
Liritz
to
brought me a
do
beer.
this." And he's like, "David, let me tell you something." He's like, "You volunteered to go to a place where not a lot of people have the guts to volunteer and go and serve." He's like, "This is the least I could do." And I met John
That's awesome.
Wetland, Marcus Timms. It was great. It was the best 4 nights of my life, and I learned a lot. Got very close to the game, and then to go back to what I was talking about with Peralta, it was great to actually talk to someone that's currently playing. We interviewed Brendan Lockridge last year as well. So yeah, that was pretty much. So that's the greatest moment of our
No, that's
podcast so far.
great.
Awesome.
No,
This
that's
is our
great. I
second
appreciate
year, so this is going to be stick along for the ride.
No, listen.
Sure.
Stick along for season 2 of the Bronx Muchachos, man.
I'm glad Nikki brought you guys along. Like, we've interviewed probably, or at least I have, in different incarnations, different people, probably like 60 Giants, right? Mostly though the former Giants, they've retired, right? And then this year, as you were just alluding to, David, like you meet someone, and then you make a connection, and then they find out, hey, you're not a bad guy, right? Next thing I know, I'm interviewing, which technically the Giants don't do interviews with unsanctioned media, right? So I don't go get credentials because I want to watch the game. I don't want to report on the game during the game, right? So there's no reason for me to get credentials and sit in the game, right? So, but now Nikki in the training camp, Nikki goes and she covers training camp. We're constantly, like you said, we're growing and changing. And all of a sudden, I'm interviewing Daniel Bellinger, the 4th round pick from San Diego. We're interviewing Dane Belton from Iowa, which was another 4th round pick. We interviewed Nick Gates just this past Monday. Isaiah Hodgkins, we're interviewing him next Monday. And all of a sudden I'm getting like these young guys and they're like, "Hey, this was fun. You didn't ask me about how many balls I dropped or tackles I missed, because I always talk to them about like high school stuff, and then they kind of get to like know you a little bit. So your story, David's right on, man. You kind of learn the game a little bit differently. You kind of respect the players for what they go through because they're telling you what they do to earn their stripes, right? And of course, with your background, it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work that gets put in. So it's a good story, man. That's a great story, and we're rooting for the Muchachos. We're gonna keep an eye out on you guys, and especially since there's a rival Yankees platform that will go unnamed. That is not my favorite. So I'm thinking, Nikki. I'm thinking I might adopt David and Mark here, and like I'm thinking there's some good things going on here because the rival one got a bunch of seed money from some very high powered guys. So I'm thinking maybe we need to adopt the Muchachos as our brothers in arms. I'm thinking.
Yes, that's why I brought them to the Rush crew. I bring you only the best. Only the best. See, I bring you the best Yankees content. I brought you Scott, who we just need an hour for him to tell us stories.
I didn't even believe it. I'm like, Scott Sanders isn't coming on. She's like, yeah, he is. I'm like, no, he's not. And then she's like, but you have to come in because I let Nikki run with this show.
I just have,
it's her show to do her thing and have whoever she wants on, and that's what makes it fun. But she's like, well, baseball. I'm like, all right, if Scott Sanders and Mark and David are coming on, I'm like, I'm coming. And I got to tell you, it was awesome having you guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I got one thing. I got one more thing before we go. Nikki, I just wanted to say thank you for having us tonight. I know at the beginning we've been trying to connect for a while and do this. I'm so glad we were able to get got able to do it. And honestly, just thank you to you to help promote us and get our get seen. A lot of people don't realize how much hard work goes into all this behind the scenes, and to have
Wow.
guys like you supporting us from day one, literally since
Yeah.
day one,
Since
and
day
to get
one.
to where we're
Yeah.
at today. We can't thank you enough.
Why you been hiding
And,
these guys from me?
Just to tell everybody.
Well, we literally have tried. I'm not kidding you. We have our schedules just have not lined up. We have tried to work this out for a long time, and I
You're trying to keep Mark and David to yourself. I understand what you're
No,
what you're
I
all
remember
about.
that first DM, and they were like, "Hi, we're a brand new show," and I was like, "Oh, I get it. Let me start retweeting this." Like, and now it just kind of became a thing, and they had their big episode, and I've literally seen these guys grow from day one to where they are now, and I'm so proud of them.
We're very appreciative
And
of it all.
everyone can find us.
Yes, where can
Everyone
we find you?
at Bronx Muchachos 1 and at Muchachos on Instagram. We're live every Thursday night unless something drastic happens and we got to adjust fire. But every Thursday night live
David
on
gets
5
deployed.
Reasons Sports Network channel, on our Twitter and our Facebook. So that's where you can find us, guys. We're there, and we're also on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, iHeart, Amazon, anywhere you get your podcasts. And we're live tomorrow night, 9:00. So
I'll be there.
All right, so listen, folks. If and of course this will exactly same thing. We're on all your favorite podcast platforms. This is the Rush Hour. Do me a favor, follow Mark, follow David and their crew, because there's some other guys we haven't met yet, or I haven't met yet. Of course, Scott, what are you doing besides hanging out, being retired? I know you're working because I've seen you. What are you working on now?
I chase my kids a lot. That's one thing I do. But I run the Baton Rouge region for Janet King. So I commercial cleaning. So we clean Tiger Stadium, Alex Box Stadium, PMAC, all events. I'm out at LSU 75% of my time, feels like, but I enjoy it. So, but I'm out there a bunch and hanging out with the players and seeing the coaches and doing all that good stuff and making sure those stadiums are nice and clean, ready for the fans to come in and dirty it up again.
Man, all right. I mean, well, listen, people, follow Scott. Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? Any of those?
Yeah, I'm on all that, but I don't, they can find me if they find me. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, all right. Well, definitely, we know Giants guys, Monday night, Wednesday, Rush Hour. Now we've got Thursday with the draft show, of course, and now our brothers in arms. We've got Yankee shows, people.
Yankee shows to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited because now I have a Yankee show to get behind. Because I told you, like, the other one I'm not really big fans of. So, now I'm going to be pushing the Muchachos. I like it.
Yeah, I want a shirt. I need a shirt that says Muchachos on it. I got to wear it.
We appreciate
and don't send me a 2X like the other podcast did. Because it was like a dress. I had to make it work. But
if we can help you at all, David, Mark, if we can help you, or if you need anything, in any way, form or fashion, just hit me up and let me know. Be more than glad to assist in any way. I'm glad that of course Nikki's she's the brains behind everything. So I'm super excited that she brought you guys on. Dan, I couldn't hear you for most of the show. I apologize.
No, that's on me. I was using an iPad. That's on
we
me.
didn't want to hear about the Mets anyway, so
Yeah, it's okay. I was happy to talk to Scott and the other guys.
So cool.
I don't hate
and
the
listen,
Yankees.
Dan, don't feel bad. Like, this is supposed to be like my platform, and for the first 12 minutes, my mic wouldn't work, so don't feel bad.
So we talked about football.
Yeah, exactly.
Football.
Yeah. I want to thank Joyce Tuto. I want to thank Fred for popping in. I want to thank out for Mike. I see Darius. I see El Bush. Look at that one.
Joyce.
El Bushman. I have never seen that one before.
That's Evan. He jumps in. He's a friend of the show. He co-hosts
Love
with
it.
me sometimes. Yep.
So I want to thank all you guys for jumping in and asking questions. Follow these guys. I mean, I can see it's very small. Looks like Gilly 1086, I think it is. And it's Mark C _ BM. So follow those guys. Check them out. Listen, subscribe to the channel. Follow what they do, right? Get engaged with these guys because they're gonna engage back. Follow them, upload it, download it, share it, subscribe, make it a thing. I know you people are like, why is Santucci talking about baseball? Because now I can, right? So now I can. And of course, Scott, really excited to have you.
Yes,
if you
thank
guys
so
are all
much.
cool with it, we don't do a lot of baseball, but I'm thinking
We got to do it again.
I think we have to do it again.
I'm thinking,
We're gonna do it soon. Yeah.
I'm thinking like,
Once
I'm
a
thinking
month.
maybe I need to do. I
Once a
got
month.
yelled at for saying I was going to do a jet show, right? Because the Rush family has grown so big to. We do a draft show. Nikki does, sports betting, fantasy football, and all around the NFL. And then Monday, I lock down Giants 24 hours, 7 days a week. So now I'm thinking like, all right, maybe we need to do like some Yankees Rush and kind of just funnel it out to the Muchacho guy. This has got some good synergy to it.
I'm with Tuto here. Let Nikki finish.
Huh? What?
Go.
Oh. No, it's all right. But I do appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. Like I said, Scott, really appreciate it. I know you are very busy and we tried to sort this out for a while, but we finally got you on. I'd love to have you come back. Bronx Muchachos, like I said, so proud of you guys. I've watched you grow since day one. That is a wrap. I think we're on episode 10, 11 of Rush Hour. Appreciate you guys. And I will see you next week. We're going to go behind the scenes. We have an agent coming on and a financial advisor to the athletes. So stay tuned because we're going to get some behind the scenes stories. And then I got some other good stuff coming up for you guys in the next few weeks. So thank you so much. I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.